So we'll start recording. I'm running for the Court of Appeals, but one of the things I decided was I was going to start doing, while we're all stuck in quarantine at different times, I was going to start going through some just legal issues and fun little things that I find important about our Constitution, about our rights. You'll see on my signs it says protecting individual rights. And I want to talk about those because that is important to me. And so I've put together a little presentation on juries, just so we can talk about what they mean. And I'm going to go ahead and take you guys through that real quickly. Hopefully it's interesting enough. Let's see if I can make this work again.
Heck yeah. Let's see it.
Okay. So for those who've started already, I'm going to start off with the history of the jury. The jury goes back so far that many of us have, or there's many historians who debate whether it comes from the English conquest or comes from the Danes, but reality is for us as Americans, it starts in our Declaration of Independence. And just so you know, the pictures I chose, because I'm the one who put together the presentation, I get to show off some cute kids. So that will happen. But I started with the Declaration of Independence where it says, and we're all familiar with it, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the next part, though, is key, and that is that really the protection of these rights is the government. But the government gets its power from the consent of the governed. And that's where the jury comes in. At every piece along the lines, you're going to find that the jury is we the people in the courtroom. And if you look at the Declaration of Independence, it goes on to talk about the grievances that really the people of our nation felt were the reason we should be fighting our Revolutionary War. And among those was that King George was depriving us, in many cases, of the benefits of trial by jury. And so the fact that we didn't have juries was one of the bases of our Revolutionary War. We go on to the next document that I think is incredibly important, and that is the Constitution of the United States. And I always start off looking at these as the whole purpose of the Constitution is we the people of the United States. And it's to make sure that we the people are forming this union and establishing justice. And in the Bill of Rights, there are two elements. There's the Sixth Amendment and the Seventh Amendment that provide the jury is the way that we do we the people in the courtroom. And we go from there into our Washington Constitution, and I had to pick a picture again of cute little kids because to me, Washington is where we live. It's as we get into the local stuff, this is what I think of with Washington. You know, the chance to go down on the carousel, the chance to be part of the community. And we see in there that the Washington Constitution, and you'll see this on all my signs, is all political power is inherent in the people. And that governments are done to protect and maintain individual rights. And the key to that in trial everywhere is the right to trial by jury. And so when we get back to it at the end of the day, the jury in the courtroom is how we get to we the people. 12 people coming in there, maintaining your rights and protecting you. And why is that so powerful? Well, and that's because every one of these people who come onto this jury is your community. And that's how you make sure your community shows up. They are mothers, they are families, they are people who may just enjoy the outdoors, they're realtors, they're web developers, they're even you, Mercedes, who's telling us to stay home. And so what are some of our non-jury options, though, if we've got we the people that are juries? Well, historically, you had kings, you had emperors, you had military commissions, all these types of things that replace juries because they got to be partial, where juries are impartial and they're we the people. Today, we've got other options. You can do a private arbitration or a judge, but one of the things to realize in those is those options, while good at times, they are equally going to be probably people. And so juries ensure us that the people who are judging us and our facts in the courtroom are human like us, that they come from our community. I was going to talk to you about when do we get a jury, because juries don't always exist, but you always get a jury. This was one of my pictures that I saw out there, was one of my friends wearing a mask. And I wondered how the bank responded when she got back into the courtroom, or when she went into the bank. Was she a robber, or was she just a concerned citizen? So when you have criminal trials, you always get a jury. It's presumed that you get a jury, and you have to choose to waive it. And the reason why is, ultimately, if you're going to be convicted of crime, it should be from the community, and it should be we the people. The second one, civil cases, when you're fighting over property, who owns a sword, again, you have a right to get a jury. But where you don't get a right to get a jury is, well, things like family law. And the reason why we do that is some of those matters end up being so complicated, and they're handled in what's called equity, that we don't always give juries at those points, because we don't want to have everyone individually trying to figure out how to deal in the family. But the other one, Michelle told me, or my wife told me, to leave out this one, but I always think it's fun. There was always when I go in, take a picture of these bourbon bottles, one was red state versus blue state. I put that up there because there's political matters that are not for the jury. And that's where we go to the voting box. So that's when do we get a jury? You definitely get them in criminal cases, and in civil cases as well, you should have a right to them. Anytime you're you're dealing with your life, liberty, and property, you get a jury. Our community needs to weigh in on it. And so in the Court of Appeals, the question is, how do I, if I'm running for the Court of Appeals, how would I be impacting your right to trial by jury? Well, in the jury trial, this is section 21. It says the right to trial by jury shall remain inviolate. It shall not be violated. If you look at this picture, I'm running for this here, Division 3. These are all jury trials. Down here at the Superior Court, sometimes in District Court, Municipal Court. But Division 3 doesn't do jury trials. Instead, what they do is we make sure that the jury was respected by the trial courts. And how could the jury be disrespected? Well, and I pulled this from a quote of one of my favorite cases, Davis v. Cox. The term inviolate means it's to have the highest protection. And in trial, especially in the civil litigation process, there's 2 times where juries may not be respected. And that is, a trial can be removed before it gets to a jury. A judge may decide there's too many facts here that no one can disagree with, and no jury can find it that way. At the appellate court level, we review that and we say, should the jury have been respected? Should they have had a right to hear this case? And then another one is post-trial. The judges do have a right to say the jury got it wrong. But equally so, anytime that they do that, that goes up to the Court of Appeals. And that's part of what my decisions will be, is when should a jury be respected? Because at its core, the right to trial by jury guarantees that juries resolve all the facts. And the Court of Appeals really makes sure that that happens. And so that was kind of my thing on the jury. I wanted to see if people had any questions about juries. We've got some interesting things coming up. One of the people on this call is a gentleman who works with me, and we've been really trying to figure out into the future, how does COVID-19 impact your right to trial by juries? And that's going to be a thing that's coming up in the future. But does anyone have any questions or discussion on juries and how that works so far?
No, I think you did a great job about the importance of juries. I like how you composed it and made it of your peers and like-minded. How do you guys protect that your jury isn't somebody though who intentionally, like, how do you protect and make sure it's a neutral jury?
Oh, that's a good question. So we have a process called voir dire. And in voir dire, we basically talk with the jury. And so each attorney gets some time with the jury. You get about 20 minutes per side, and then you go for another round. Sometimes you can go for hours talking with them and individually asking them questions about life, how they interact, if they know anyone involved, all that kind of stuff. And then you can challenge a juror for two reasons. Or there's two types of challenges, I guess. The first challenge is, hey, listen, I'm not sure that you could be fair. And typically that's a harder challenge. If the judge believes they could be fair, then they stay in. But along the same lines, every lawyer in Washington, we get 3 strikes. So we have 3 people we can strike from that panel for any reason whatsoever outside of race, religion, or any of those prejudicial, discriminatory acts. We can strike them for any other reason we see fit. And so at the end of that, we do end up with a jury that we believe every litigant in the courtroom should believe is fair. And that's actually a powerful tool, because at the end of it, we sit there and look at it and say, hey, listen, we think we came out with a fair jury. There's an interesting, I was reading actually an interesting article the other day about how the jurors in the Stone trial, the Roger Stone trial, were fearful because they'd been criticized so much for convicting him, which I found interesting, because anytime you go into the lawyers in the midst of a trial, now we may not agree with the jury, but we had a choice in the midst of choosing that jury, and we participated in that process. And we may not have liked how they came out, but we got our time with them, and we had our chance to make sure that we knew they were fair. And so that's how it's a long process and could be hours, but that's how we pick them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for answering that question.
You bet. Any other questions? Okay.
No, I don't think I have any questions.
You don't
You
have any
answered
questions?
everything.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have no questions.
No questions. Well, thank you, everyone. And I know it was a smaller turnout today, but hopefully, I don't know if this is helpful. I thought it would be fun to do a few things on, hey, here's the legal process. Here's what we go through.
I think it's great. Your timing was only a little bit alarming for us because I get out of work at 4 and James didn't get out till 4:45. So for us working, so for some of us working, it was a little hard for that 4:30. But I was here.
Then I'll move them back. I think I could probably do them a little later.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit after 5 o'clock, or at least 5:30. Because some of my friends who were interested, because I've been talking with our business resource group. They're still at work until 5:30. So at least you'll be able to show this recording.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, I'll put this recording up and I'll see if I can do a few more. I was thinking of doing some more around, what is a trial and just some things like that. Because the biggest question I get when I say I'm running for the Court of Appeals is, what does that mean? So I want to start going through some things of what it means.
Perfect. I think it's
juries.
Describing the importance of a jury was wonderful.
Excellent. Well, thank you everyone for your time. And we'll be doing, just so you know, on the campaign, we're actually planning to kick off June 15th, sometime in June, middle of June. So I'll be sending invites out, and it was supposed to be April 16th. It's supposed to be last Tuesday.
Yeah.
But of course, we had to cancel it. So
Well, let's do it all by Zoom.
I hope that it'll be open in June. I know our clinics aren't even opening and taking patients until after May 28th, and that's a tentative still with rescheduling. So
yeah,
we'll see how these phases work in reopening our system.
That's it too. I mean, as we reopen, there will be billboards going up in May if anyone's out driving. But we do have, hopefully we can do June, because I was looking forward to a kind of a large party of wine and hors d'oeuvres and getting to meet tons of people who I haven't seen in a long time. So
I think that sounds fabulous.
perfect. Well, I'll send out the invite and I'll keep you guys up to date. And thank you for coming, and please continue to share my page.
Of course, hit the like button.
We got it.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Marshall.
Good luck.
Talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.